Okay, my name's Deri Reed. I am the ethical chef. I have two personalities. I'm turning this into a little bit of a comical stand now, seeing as Rufus is a kind of semi-comedian. I thought I'll give my go at it. So the only way is ethics, as we all know. There was a TV program that ripped this saying and put Essex after it, but I'm not even going to go into that rant. This rant is about food today, but I'm going to start off by introducing myself and what I do. So my mum decided to bring me up as a vegetarian. Not entirely sure why. When I was a kid, she'd put homegrown spinach and potatoes on our plate, which we'd nicely put into the drawer under the table and say that we'd eaten it all, and then go and get some Pop-Tarts or those potato waffles that you can put in the toaster, which taste fabulous. So as soon as we'd left school and we went into... As soon as we left primary school, we went to secondary school, we could choose our own food. Then the sausages, the turkey burgers, everything like that started coming out. And we were like, Mum, what's going on? Why on earth have you not put this on our plate? And we couldn't understand it. Kebabs, pizzas, all this stuff, amazing. All this stuff that I was like, I've never tried this before. So when I left school, I went traveling. Went to Australia, New Zealand, Thailand. And it was mentioned earlier before, what gets you chicks? Fat you can cook. Guess what? I couldn't cook. My mate could. He got all the attention that I was after. So I started to learn how to cook. I learned how to make pot noodles. I learned how to make a roux. I learned how to do a lasagna. I learned how to do the bare basics of cooking, and it started working. It was great. Came back from traveling, started working as a chef, and as soon as I stepped into that kitchen, that is when I started seeing the horrific reality of the food world. So I thought to myself, maybe my mum was right about some of this vegetarian stuff and growing stuff at home and spinach and potatoes and all these kind of things. So I put my head down. I started working really hard, started learning, doing research at home. And then I applied to get a job in a vegetarian restaurant. And I thought, let's see what it's all about. So me thinking I'm going to take a little bit of a step down from this meat cooking. It was about 20 steps up. Walked into the kitchen, they give you a vegetable box. And they say, right, you need to prepare lunch for 30 people out of these vegetables today. So it was really, really difficult, a massive learning curve for my chef career. Finished there, and I thought, right, let's go back to Wales. Let's do something really special in the food industry. So I set up a business called EthicalChef. You can tweet me if you want under the EthicalChef. That'd be brilliant. And I've basically taken the chef to market. So I gone to the best market that you can get, the farmers market in Cardiff called Riverside Farmers Market. And my first market, I turned up with a camping table and a cooker, bought some veggies from the stands within the market, put it together, cooked it, sold it for lunch. And I haven't stopped for 2 years. That's all I've been doing. So my food rant is basically called the Industrial Food Revolution. Because what I do, I believe, is what we all should be doing a little bit more of. And that is cooking from scratch and reducing the amount of meat that we eat. EthicalChef is a purely vegetarian business, so I spend my time promoting vegetarian food made from scratch. If you don't want to make it from scratch, come to me and buy it. If you do want to make it from scratch, come to me and I'll give you a recipe, or go to my website and you can have the recipe. So the Industrial Food Revolution is something that I suppose I just made it up. That was the first thing that came to my mind when they said, what do you want to rant about? And I can't understand how working in a restaurant as a chef, we're not really chefs. You ring up your wholesaler and you say, I want 10 kilos of potatoes or 10 kilos of chips, and they come pre-cut. Or you order 20 kilos of flour, and it's like, how does that stuff actually get there? And it doesn't matter how much you order, it will still land on your doorstep. And I can't understand how this system actually works. Another thing that I want to rant about is wheat intolerance and celiac disease. This is something that is becoming more and more and more apparent these days. It's not something that chefs should think, oh, geez, these people are gluten-free, can't stand this, go away, go somewhere different. Because most people who are gluten-free, they actually carry around a loaf of bread with them because they got nowhere to eat. And I think that this is down to the fact that we've genetically modified wheat, and we've just intensively farmed it and intensively crushed it into flour and just made bread and bread and bread. And everything we eat has got wheat in it. You have toast for breakfast. You have pasta for lunch. You have lasagna for dinner. You have cake for dessert. Everything's got wheat in it, and we're eating way too much of it. So this is just the start of what I call the industrial food revolution. And for people to think, how can Greggs supply 20,000 pasties on International Rugby Day in Cardiff and be absolutely fine the next day, back to normal? They got their shelves back to normal, and then they got a busy day, bam, they can sell 50,000 products. That's something that is worth thinking about. How on earth do these places produce food at the click of a finger? Who's producing it? What's happening? Is the environment suffering from it? Which it is. And I suppose I can rant on loads of different things, but I haven't really got a focus or a tangent. I just rant and rant and rant. All I want to say is try cooking from scratch, source locally, be ethical, reduce the amount of meat that you eat, and hopefully we will reduce our carbon footprint on this planet. That's me. Thank you very much.